In this video, we'll talk about the complete overview of the CTET exam and what all candidates can avail from the certification. So, CTET, or better known as Central Teacher Eligibility Test, is an exam for those candidates who wish to become teachers for primary and upper primary classes. The CTET exam is conducted by the Central Board of Secondary Education and takes place twice a year. The CTET exam was first conducted in 2011 by the central government as a mandatory requirement to anyone willing to teach in central aided and private sector schools. The validity of CTET certification is lifetime for a candidate and is acceptable in almost every state. CBSE on October 31, 2022 has released the official notification for CTET 2022-2023 exam. The CTET official notification contains all the necessary information including the eligibility criteria, syllabus and exam pattern. According to the notification, the CTET exam will be conducted from December 2022 till January 2023. However, the exact dates regarding the CTET exams will be mentioned on the admit card of the candidate. Let's take a look at all the important details of the CTET exam. Talking about the eligibility criteria, the CTET eligibility criteria is framed by National Council for Teacher Education. Before filling out the form for CTET Paper 1 and Paper 2, candidates should be well aware of the eligibility criteria based on the following factors: nationality, CTET age limit, CTET education qualification. Let's talk about the nationality part of the CTET eligibility criteria. Candidates should be citizen of India in order to be eligible to apply for the CTET exam. CTET age limit. The minimum age limit to apply for CTET is 18 years and there is no restriction on the upper age limit to apply for the examination. CTET education qualification for Paper 1 and Paper 2. The eligibility criteria for Paper 1 and Paper 2 is completely different. Candidates appearing for the CTET Paper 1 should have passed senior secondary or class 12 exam with minimum of 50% and passed or appearing in the final year of 2-year diploma in elementary education. Whereas, candidates who wish to appear for the CTET Paper 2 should have completed graduation and passed or appearing in the final year of 2-year diploma in the elementary education. Now, the CTET application fee varies for all the categories. Take a look at different fee structure for different categories. Candidates appearing for CTET exam in general category have to pay Rs 1000 for one paper, whereas if a candidate wish to appear for both the papers, then he or she has to pay Rs 1200 as the fee. On the other hand, the SC/ST category candidates have to pay Rs 500 to appear for only one paper, whereas if those candidates wish to appear for both the papers, they have to pay a fees of Rs 600. With the right knowledge of the syllabus and exam pattern, students can effectively prepare for the CTET exam. While talking about the CTET exam pattern, the exam consists of two papers. Paper 1 is for those candidates who wish to teach from class 1 to 5, whereas Paper 2 is for those candidates who wish to become teachers for class 6 to 8. Both Paper 1 and Paper 2 are of 2.5 hours. Both the papers are of 150 marks respectively and will be conducted in CBT mode. The CTET Paper 1 consists of 5 subjects, whereas CTET Paper 2 has 4 subjects. Candidates must note that there are 3 subjects common in both Paper 1 and Paper 2. The CTET Paper 1 consists of subjects including Child Development and Pedagogy, Language 1, Language 2, Mathematics and Environmental Studies. On the other hand, CTET Paper 2 includes subjects such as Child Development and Pedagogy, Language 1, Language 2, Mathematics, Science or Social Studies or Social Science. The CTET admit card is released by the Central Board of Secondary Education and is generally released 1 week before the day of examination. CTET admit card is an essential document that a student must have while appearing for the teacher eligibility test. CBSE conducts the CTET exam and the dates will be mentioned in the admit card. Candidates are advised to keep an eye on the official website for more information regarding the CTET examination. And for more such educational videos, subscribe to Indian Express Education and don't forget to press the bell icon for the latest updates.